Because of one tragic event? Dan Blocker, who played Hoss Cartwright, was to take on a bigger role. He later said he wanted to handle Hoss's absence the way
secret racing thrills, and a shocking early death that fans dismissed as tall tales, until family memoirs, war medals, and unearthed photos proved the wild truths, shattering the simple image forever. Dan Blocker came into the world kicking hard on December 10, 1928, in tiny DeKalb, Texas, weighing a whopping 14 pounds, the biggest baby Bowie County had ever seen. His folks, Ora, Shaq Blocker and Mary Arizona Davis, ran a small grocery store amid the Great Depression, scraping by in dusty Oklahoma before circling back to Texas, where young Dan learned early about hard work and humility. By age 12, he was already over 6 feet tall, helping on farms and dreaming big despite the family's constant moves and tight money.
It helps keep me someone who understands me.
He starred on the field at Hardin-Simmons University in 1946, bulldozing opponents with his 300-pound build.
It knows me inside out.
In 1947, Dan kept dominating as a lineman while majoring in speech and drama, graduating in 1950 with honors that surprised folks who saw him as just brawn. Summers weren't easy. He rodeoed for cash, busting broncos and roping calves, and bounced rowdy patrons at bars, stories his college pals shared in interviews years later, proving the gentle giant had a tough side. The Korean War yanked him from civilian life in 1951. Drafted into the Army, Dan trained at Fort Polk, Louisiana, then shipped out as an infantry sergeant in F Company, 2nd Battalion, 179th Infantry Regiment, 45th Infantry Division. From December 1951 to August 1952, he slogged through brutal combat, earning a Purple Heart after shrapnel tore into him during a fierce battle, a wound he downplayed but medals confirmed when military archives opened. He racked up honors like the Korean Service Medal with 2 Bronze Stars, United Nations Service Medal, and Combat Infantryman Badge. Facts fans doubted until documentaries flashed the citations, showing Hoss wasn't just acting tough, he lived it. Back home in 1952, Dan married his college sweetheart Dolphia Parker, a fellow Sul Ross student with a drama bent, and they started a family quick, first son Dirk in 1957, then David, and twins Deborah and Dana. But money was tight, so he chased a master's in dramatic arts while teaching high school English and drama in Sonora, Texas, from 1953 to 1954, inspiring kids with his booming voice and kind ways. He even coached football and taught 6th grade at Eddy Elementary in Carlsbad, New Mexico, before heading to California, where he juggled substitute teaching with odd jobs, all while eyeing Hollywood, a path biographies revealed through old school records, stunning fans who thought he was born for the screen. Acting didn't come overnight. Dan moved to Los Angeles in 1955, landing bit parts that played on his size, like a goon in the 1957 Three Stooges short Outer Space Jitters, billed as Don Blocker to dodge typecasting. He popped up in westerns, growling as a cavalry lieutenant in Gunsmoke, a blacksmith in The Restless Gun, and a bartender in Sheriff of Cochise, grinding through over 20 guest spots before his big break. Directors loved his presence but often cast him as heavies, a far cry from the hero he'd become, until casting notes surfaced showing how he fought for deeper roles. By 1958, Dan was weary of the hustle, considering quitting for steady teaching, but fate struck when producer David Dortort spotted him in The Rifleman and cast him as the gentle Eric Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza in 1959, at age 30, finally hitting stardom. The role fit like a glove. Hoss's kindness echoed Dan's own life motto from Stephen Grellet, "We shall pass this way on earth but once, if there is any kindness we can show, or good act we can do, let us do it now." Fans adored the character, but behind-the-scenes tales of Dan's real gentleness, like helping crew members or calming horses, emerged in co-star memoirs, proving the man matched the myth. Bonanza exploded, running Saturday nights on NBC, with Dan in 415 episodes, but early on, network execs worried his size might scare viewers until test audiences fell for Hoss's heart. He based the character on his Texas roots, adding authentic drawl and humor that scripts didn't have, revelations from script drafts that fans gobbled up in books. Offset, Dan dove into business, co-owning a chain of Bonanza steakhouses in 1963, trading his image for steaks, over 600 locations at peak, a savvy move doubters dismissed until financial records proved his millions. His war scars lingered. Dan rarely spoke of Korea, but flashbacks hit hard, as his wife Dolphia shared in interviews after his death, painting a veteran haunted yet resilient. He poured that depth into Haas, like in episodes where the character wrestled inner demons, mirroring Dan's own post-war struggles with readjustment. Biographies like Dan Blocker, The Gentle Giant, compiled letters showing his humility, refusing fan mail praise and crediting luck over talent. Growing up, Dan's family life was rugged. His dad Shaq taught him fishing and hunting, but the Depression meant no frills, building a work ethic that carried him through college on scholarships and grit. At Sul Ross, he wasn't just an athlete, he starred in plays, honing skills that landed teaching gigs, where students remembered him as a big teddy bear who made Shakespeare fun. Those stories, buried in alumni newsletters, resurfaced to counter myths of him as uneducated muscle. The military chapter stunned many. Fans couldn't picture Jolly Haas in foxholes, but photos of Sergeant Blocker in uniform, grim-faced amid Korean winters, flipped that narrative when declassified. He led patrols under fire, once carrying a wounded buddy Miles to safety, a tale comrades confirmed in veteran reunions years later. The Purple Heart wasn't for show. Shrapnel lodged in his leg, causing lifelong limps he hid on set with clever blocking. Post-service, Dan's teaching days in New Mexico included coaching Little League, where his size awed kids but his patience won hearts, as former pupils recounted in podcasts. Moving to California for Dolphia's health, he worked as a bouncer at night while auditioning, once tossing out a rowdy drunk single-handed, a yarn bar owners verified in local histories. These layers peeled back the simple cowboy image, showing a multifaceted man. By the late 1950s, Dan's guest roles piled up: Colt .45, Zorro, Wagon Train, often as villains, contrasting his real warmth, until Bonanza flipped the script. The pilot tested Rocky, but Dan's ad-libs saved scenes, as director notes revealed, cementing his spot. His bond with co-stars Lorne Greene, Pernell Roberts, and Michael Landon grew familial, with off-set barbecues and pranks that memoirs detailed. Dan's early fame brought perks, like racing cars. He owned a 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396 and a Huffaker Genie 10 Malawian Quatches nicknamed Vinegaroon. Competing in championships, speeds fans doubted until racing logs emerged. He zipped around tracks at 150 miles per hour, a thrill-seeking side hidden from public until photos hit magazines. That adrenaline mirrored his rodeo past, where he broke ribs but kept competing. Family anchored him. With 4 kids, Dan built a 6,000-square-foot Tudor mansion in Hancock Park, L.A., hosting epic parties where stars mingled with neighbors. His liberal politics surprised conservatives, backing Democrats like Pat Brown over Reagan in 1966, a stance letters proved when archives opened. He championed civil rights quietly, donating to causes amid the turbulent 60s.